let's do a full analysis of why I chosen this little lens over this giant lens. All right. Not only is this one smaller and lighter, but it's a ton cheaper, and to me, it is just as flexible. So let's look at a full analysis. I'm actually shooting this kind of in reverse, in that this is the next day. You're going to see a full comparison of these two lenses in just a moment. But the clouds are a little bit better than yesterday when I shot the first part of it. So let me set this down. I'm going to set this up for a shot. Okay, let's put it at about 15 millimeter. Okay. I'm going to back up to get everything I want to in frame. I'm in auto bracketing mode, and I'm going to fire away. All right. Okay, so here comes a great and very needed experiment. I want to find out here with the Sony A7r, hello Blueberry, I want to find out if this giant lens, okay, this is a full frame alpha lens for their old system with an adapter on it, on the full frame Sony A7r. I want to find out if this can do an equal job, or better, or worse, to this little guy. Okay, this is the Sony 10-18. This is the, quote, older lens for the Sony NEX system. And I bet, my prediction, even though you're not supposed to make a prediction when doing a scientific experiment, because your experiment will inevitably end up proving your hoped result, but I'll try to be as scientific as possible. You will see that this will do as good of a job as this. And it's about, I would say, 1/6 the weight, and just, just a fraction of the size. Okay, so since this is 16-35, we'll take a shot right at 16. So let's get this going here, okay? And I'm taking a photo here of my cottage. This is my little studio. We live over there. But this is where the sausage is made, in case you're ever wondering. And I'll try to get the exact same shot as possible so that we have a proper experimental situation here. Okay, so let me line this thing up. Now, what are my other settings you like putting? Well, I'm at F11 just to make sure everything's in focus. And let's set the ISO to 100. Okay, it'll be the same for both. Okay, so we'll fire away here. Bam. Okay, now let's adjust it to 18 millimeter, which I assume is halfway between 16 and 20. And we'll take a shot there. Good. Okay, that's 2 shots done. Now, let's throw in this little job, okay? Just let me take off this thing. Oh man, getting off these DSLR lenses. You have to have more hands than Shiva to get this job done. Okay, there we go. There's that. I'll get this one and slide it on like that. There. All right, my dog's been waiting patiently. I mean, you could throw this thing all day to her. She never gets tired. Ready? Go get it. Oh man, the simple joys of being a dog. You don't have to worry about all this cropped frame sensor nonsense. Okay, so I'm going to set this up top to 16 millimeter. Okay, twisty, just like that. All right, now let me focus, get it pretty centered. I'll fire. Good. And let's do one at 18, just like I did with the other one. Okay, fire. Now, let's just see, when does this vignetting or cropping happen? Because I'm sure it's going to happen, but the big question is, how bad is it? Still tolerable? My prediction is that we're going to be able to get even wider than that lens with almost minimal vignetting. Okay, so this is at 14 millimeter. All right. This is at 12 millimeter. And let's go all the way to 10. Okay, where I'm sure we'll see some cropping. Okay, so let's go look at this in post and look at the results. Oh, wait, before we do that, let's just do one more experiment just to show the before and after of, at least the size difference. Let me put this thing on. Look, is there anything more scary than having a warning on the back of your lens cap? Look at that. It'll scare the East bejesus out of you. Okay, so look at that difference. It's unbelievable. And yes, this is a little apples and oranges because I have a big adapter on here, But for all practical purposes, you might as well consider this a permanent part of the lens, because there's no way you're going to use this lens on this camera without the adapter, so you might as well just consider it one big contiguous hole. If you look at it from the front, you can see the size. Well, you can kind of see the size difference there. Just amazing. And so I'm also curious, because it's a valid point. People might wonder, well, oh, the glass in here is vastly superior to this glass. Well, that might be true. Let's just go look at the resulting shots and see if there's a difference. Okay, now we're back indoors, inside said cottage, inside Sweet Lady Lightroom. So let's really look and compare here. Let's zoom in and see all the goody-goody. Now, this one, let me just zoom back out here. Everything that's in red was taken with the NEX lens, cropped lens. Everything that's in blue was taken with the full frame lens. All right. So what I've done here is I've put the two 16 millimeters right beside each other so we can really go back and forth and take a look. Okay. So this is what came out of the full frame lens, and this is what came out of the crop sensor lens. You can see it's pretty much effectively the same. You know, we're getting the same coverage, this sort of thing. This is the full frame lens. It's, you know, full 7,300 pixels across, 7,360 by 4,912. And then if we go look at the cropped sensor one, it's not cutting it in half, which is often the threat with a lot of cropped sensors or cropped lenses. This one is also 7,360 by 4,912. So you're still getting the full frame 36 megapixel goodness. Some other little changes I see. There is more vignetting, certainly, in this one, where the sky's a little darker up here, and maybe the edges of the grass are a little bit darker. But that's easy enough to correct. A little bit of vignetting doesn't bother me. It's a very easy correction in Lightroom. But let's zoom into 100% and see if we're getting some different kind of lens quality on the zoom in. And let's compare it to the one next door, this one. So this is the full frame lens. This is the NEX lens. So there's a slight zoom difference, but that might be like 0.5 millimeter, you know, in my zoom difference. On 36 megapixel, it makes a little bit of a difference. But if we look at the wood texture in the full frame one, it looks nice. You know, there's you can see all the grains in the wood, good dynamic range. This is just the raw file. Remember, we haven't done anything with it. And then this is the NEX lens. To me, it looks 100% as sharp. I'm not seeing, you know, anything worse. In fact, I'm seeing more light under the shadows. So here's the full frame one again. Look how dark the door is underneath. You know, the dark brownness in the shadow. And this is out of the other lens. This is the NEX lens, and you can see it's quite a bit brighter in there. So somehow it seemed to pull more light in from the shadows. So that's a pretty good comparison. Now let's jump over and look at some of the other ones. Let's look at these other shots that came out of the NEX. So this is all the way out at 10 millimeter, okay? You can see that there's major, you know, I don't even know if this qualifies as vignetting. Let's just call it plastic ringing. And so, you know, all of that is just basically unusable, of course. Now, if I'm going to crop in, okay, let's jump over to the develop module and crop in a little bit. You know, get into the usable space. Let's say we want a little rectangle there, a little rectangle there, just like that. Then hit enter, and then let's go back to the other module just to look at what our resolution now is. So you see that when I cropped it down, we've lost a few thousand pixels. Now it's 5,100 pixels across, which ain't bad, you know. You could argue that that's plenty of pixels across, right? Now let's go look at these other ones. Okay, this is the one that is at 12 millimeter. And you see this looks like super wide, really, really nice. And there's absolutely some vignetting happening around the corners there, but that's easy enough to get rid of in Lightroom. Let's compare that to the full frame at 16 millimeter. Okay, this is the full frame lens at 16 millimeter, and this is the NEX lens at 12 millimeter. So you can see you can get even wider with the NEX lens than you could with that giant lens, which is often when I shoot landscapes, what I want to do, I always find myself wanting to go just a little bit wider. And so I think this flexibility is really, really exciting. Now let's look at some of these other ones. This is at 14 millimeter. Okay, again, this is wider than the full frame can go. The vignetting is there, but not too bad. That is from the full frame. And this is a little bit wider at 14 millimeter. And this one, interestingly, is all the way at 18 millimeter. This is like fully zoomed in on the lens. And you see that we're getting a little bit of plastic ringing here on the outside. And if we're to crop in on that, it'll be quite minor. Let's go to the develop module here. I'll hit D, pick our cropping tool, and just zoom in a little bit here just to get rid of that bit. Then hit enter. Then go back to the module here. And you see that we shaved off about 500 pixels. It's still 6,800 pixels across. So if you did want to remove some of that vignetting, you go to the develop module, and you scroll down here to the lens corrections area. You can just say enable profile corrections, and you can see how it basically just gets rid of that vignetting. You can see before and after, before and after. It also straightens it up a little bit and this sort of thing.